Hey everyone, and welcome back to another forecast for this upcoming week. What celestial shifts are taking place between November 15th and November 22nd. And this is the full moon to third quarter phase of this lunar cycle. And lunar cycle phase video, how to work with lunar cycles, specifically more details in that, like that project's still on the works. So coming soon, I will have a whole video around working with the different phases of the lunar cycle. But for now, we'll go ahead and head right into the cosmic weather, what's happening, what's the energy, and more importantly, how can you flow, co-create, and navigate these dynamics. So there are three things that I'm going to talk about with you today. The first is the Sun-Uranus opposition taking place. In fact, if you happen to be watching this on the full moon, happy full moon, on Friday the 15th. The moon's actually in alignment with Uranus, opposing the sun. Uranus, I might say it, I say it a couple different ways. But anyways, there's been this opposition between the sun and Uranus that's been building and will carry out for this next week. And this really kind of touches on what I spoke about last week in terms of how can we let a more authentic version of us, like how can we be more authentic and true to who we are? This opposition between Uranus and the sun is definitely ripe for ego deaths. And to kind of expand on that, like I'm curious in your own life, like has there been a layer to you, a facet of your being that has been emerging, maybe speaking more loudly right now, that's just kind of ringing the bell inside around certain things you're doing or who you're being, and that it's not necessarily in alignment with you anymore. Like there's this part of you that's like, that doesn't really jive with me, like doesn't really feel like me anymore doing this or fitting into this identity. And that's where this like opposition can really illuminate like a deeper layer of our truth. And our job with this energy is to let that more authentic part of us like have space and room, and perhaps let old identities die. That kind of happens when, like even me in my people pleaser phase, like I don't really claim that title anymore. Like there was a time where my identity, I was like, oh yeah, total people pleaser, and there came a point in my journey where it was just like, no, I'm not that anymore. And we got to let old egos die, old ego identities, and let our ego shift into a more truer dynamic of who we are. And so that's what's really kind of called out with this Sun-Uranus opposition is an old identity of you fighting a new essence that's coming up. And living in alignment with your heart, living in alignment with your truth, living authentically is the best, will get you the best results in life in terms of what's actually going to light you up, what actually has meaning to you, what's actually true for you. Following our truth is really important. And so I encourage and I invite you to listen to that if it's coming up and see how you can make room and shed some old layers of identity and let that come forth. It takes a little bit of courage for sure, but it's 100% worth it. You're actually doing the best thing for the world by being a truer version of who you are. So now heading into the next dynamic here, and that is the Mercury-Jupiter opposition taking place. And this energy there's just interesting mental energy this next week. Mercury's about to station retrograde on November 25th. So, a week and a half or so away. But right now it's like starting to slow down in the sky from our perspective. And it's just kind of shifting the energy. Jupiter's retrograde right now, and there's this opposition taking place between the two. And this can create just a lot of mental questioning. Curiosity could totally be that other element to it as well. Exaggerated thinking, perhaps like running away with an idea, second guessing and doubting information. So maybe this week or building, and this will be alive for this next week as well. There could have been this feeling of you all of a sudden second guessing and questioning things in your life that otherwise you wouldn't typically question. And it's an opening of the mind energy that can sometimes be challenging because the mind wants to figure everything out. The mind, everything's a problem to the mind, or it can be that way. And so, if we're trying to figure everything out, but it's like we know we don't have all the information, it's like, what if we haven't thought about this or that? And it's just kind of this opening of the mind, ping-ponging effect of, if you find yourself wanting to figure everything out, if you find yourself constantly questioning information that's coming in your sphere, your field, then catch that spiral and to flow with this energy. Allow the mind to open up and be like, wow, what an interesting, didn't think of things from that perspective. Maybe I should consider this, or and also, just understand that there's always going to be things you don't know. And so if you feel your mind just constantly wanting to show you everything you don't know, at some point you're going to just have to be like, okay, I'm never going to know everything. Let me move forward with what I do know. Let me move forward with what I know. So coming back to that place of letting go, you're never going to be able to figure everything out, or, all the ideas and the second guessing and questioning. Just really feel when you start spinning your wheels and shift that. If you can, just release the energy there and focus on the I don't know space and in the cool, not knowing of things, to learn and perhaps new ideas coming through this space, as long as we're not frustrated with the information of the guessing and the doubting. So just kind of let yourself lean into, you don't need to know. See what something is, since that unknown space is really fun, or can be really fun. And the final thing I just want to mention now is that Saturn has officially stationed direct after being retrograde for the last 4.5 months. So this is an energy shift in our responsibility, our ability to respond. So oftentimes Saturn in astrology is connected with discipline and restriction and duty and all of these types of kind of heavy things. And that's true for Saturn. Saturn is an energy that will help us achieve something. And so I want you to just kind of reflect on your life these last 4.5 months. Has there anything that you've been maybe neglecting, something that you haven't been taking responsibility for, or maybe things you don't want to be responsible for anymore? The retrograde cycle is kind of review, reflection, analysis on this concept of responsibility in our lives. And now that Saturn is moving direct, it's actually a really great time to maybe change the behavior somehow, change how you're, navigating responsibility in your life. And having more discipline in certain areas, or maybe pulling away, leaving responsibility in some area. So how you're showing up, your behavior, your discipline, to achieve what goals you have for your life. If there's any review or reflection that you've had over these last several months, well, now is kind of a good time to, the energy shifting, and it's supporting us taking direct action around some things we might have learned. So that's really a summary for what's going on this week. I am starting a new offering for the Mercury Retrograde cycle, which is November 25th through December 16th. And anyways, there's a month period that I'm thinking about opening up a container for people who specifically want to work with rewiring your beliefs, rewiring your thoughts, your mental patterns. It's going to be a mental manifestation. How can you really master the mind? And we can tap into the retrograde cycle, and it's a really wonderful energy to use for our own self-development and growth. So that's an offering, and I have links below if you're interested. I'm just taking interest right now. If that's something you're interested in, a several week long program or something where we meet once a week and dive into the mind and rewiring old beliefs and really stepping into new vibrational patterns when it comes to the way we think about and our perception of the world. Then the links below for that, along with my other offerings that I offer to help you navigate the celestial energy in your own life and to develop the self and to grow. Yep, and would love to hear how this energy resonates with you. Have you been experiencing any of these things? And if so, I invite you to leave a comment if you feel called. And regardless, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful week.